Good. Should be familiar to you. Let's talk about the 4 categories of character that I find to be important. Notice that we're not dealing with direct or indirect characterization. Don't worry about that so much. I know they hit it pretty hard freshman year. I'd like to focus on these categories a little bit more strongly. Jasmine, you were right out of the gate. Start me off with a definition of any one of the 4. Which one do you want? Yes. Excellent. Jasmine is almost perfect on my definition, and I want you to listen to what she said. A character that has many different types of traits. 2 words in there that are important in this definition. One is traits. Look, she's including that word in her definition. The other is different. What? Huh. My links broke. I hate when my links break. That's fine. I'll do it the old-fashioned way. A character which displays multiple different character traits, often exhibiting traits which conflict or contradict each other. Mine is just a fancy, more specific version of Jasmine's definition. Clarksonian, right. There's your adjective. So, to explore this, let me ask you a question. If I characterize somebody as being kind and generous and sensitive and charitable and nice, is that person round? Is that character round? Why no? Daniel.
Because he doesn't have many different traits. He only has one trait that involves nice.
We might call it a set. It's all in the same set. Yeah, absolutely. So even though we might use different words, different adjectives to describe this one basic set of traits, it's still one basic set of traits. So very good, Daniel. Thank you. Now, Shelby has said that she has a tendency at times to be mean or cruel. But I have no doubt from my experience with Shelby thus far that she also has a tendency to be kind and sensitive and charitable. In other words, she sounds like a normal human being. Normal human beings are riddled with contradictions. But if you want to find a round character, you find one that has contradictions. Jing Mei, we discussed earlier in response to Zach's question, 2 kinds refers to her 2 different sides. Can somebody give me 2 adjective-based traits that describe her 2 sides she sees when she looks in the mirror? Low self-esteem. Okay, so we could talk about her feeling insecure. That would be a good trait for that. Okay, insecure. And what's the other one that she feels? Does she feel secure? I'm sorry? Oh, radiant is a very nicely poetic word talking about how she feels beautiful. I'm not sure that she feels beautiful in the story, though. I think I would have a hard time supporting that in writing. I agree with your insecurity issue. But let's think about, so you're correct there, but we're having trouble finding a contradiction, right? So let's see if we have another contradiction. Josiah. I'm sorry? Content. Okay, content versus? Not really the opposite. What would be the opposite of content? It could be really simple, Josiah. What's the opposite of content?
Not happy, not satisfied.
Anybody know the opposite of content? Willing would be very similar to content. So if I am content, then I am probably satisfied and willing to do what you want me to do. This is the Jing Mei who is obedient, right? So she's obedient. She does what people want her to do. That's the one side, content and obedient. What's the opposite?
Unhappy, angry.
And rebellious, right? Okay. You guys are all on the right track. You understand the story. I'm just clarifying your language. So we have on one side content and obedient Jing Mei. And on the other side, we have discontent. There's your opposite, Josiah. I know, so obvious that you missed it. Discontent and rebellious. So we have content and obedient, discontent and rebellious. And we always have insecure. So she is definitely a round character. All right, static. It's Daniel.
The character doesn't change throughout the story.
I'm sorry. I meant to say flat because I apologize, Daniel. That's my. Yeah. Daniel, try flat. The opposite of round is flat. Therefore, what does flat mean?
So he's basically one trait without the whole start.
Correct. There's the fancy language. Sarah.
I was just say like a one-dimensional trait around the way.
No, that's exactly right. That's a different way of saying the exact same thing that I have up there on the screen. One-dimensional is the same as what I've got up there. A character which only displays a single defining character trait or a set of closely related traits. A superficial, or one-dimensional, character the author does not develop with complexity. I know we have some students in here who were not in Southview last year, but I will use a freshman Southview example nonetheless. To Kill a Mockingbird. Give me a flat character that really only demonstrates one single set of traits. Josiah. Jake?
What's the guy from the house?
From the house? The house next door?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was only really kind and nice and cared for the kids.
Uh-huh. Anybody remember the name? Boo! Boo Radley. Very good. The kindness of Boo Radley is his defining characteristic, and we really don't get anything else. Jake has notified you of something pretty important. Just because flat seems superficial doesn't mean that that's a bad guy. Tom Robinson in To Kill a Mockingbird, the accused black man who is eventually murdered, is also a flat character because he is just generous. That's about all he has. Anybody remember a villain, an antagonist in the story who's flat?
Yes, it's a guy.
Yeah.
He's the one that. I know his name.
He's the drunk. He's the father. Now, Cunningham kind of goes back and forth because Cunningham is part of that lynch mob, but Cunningham is also the guy who stops the lynch mob, and he's the guy who pays Atticus with chestnuts and such. So Cunningham's got a little bit more complexity. You could see him as a round character. Bob Ewell is who you're thinking of. Bob Ewell. Excellent. Yeah, it's one of my favorites. And you'll find, I'm glad that you non-Southview people have, well, now you're Southview people, I'm sorry, that's demeaning. You wonderful new students have read that book because I like to refer to it often. It's a good book to use for an example.
I've seen the movie.
Yeah, well, it's very similar. Okay, our next opposition is what? We had round and flat. And Carrie, what's the other pair that I had up there on the screen?
Static and dynamic.
Excellent. Static and dynamic are also opposites. Carrie, you want to give me a definition of one of those?